Mike's nicely telling you that if you're going against his opinion or our opinion, you're going down a path that we've already been there, done that. We're not telling you this to be different than you or to try and advise you wrong. We are actually advising you based on knowledge that we have that you haven't gone through yet, right? There's so many logical steps to bring your product to market, and I will tell you they are all wrong. There is a process that you have to go through. The world has taught you that you need to protect your idea before you get started. I will tell you that is the biggest mistake that you can make because you spend more money in getting your product patented. That what happens when the product finishes with your design team? Is that the same product that was patented?
Never.
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 We help people with ideas get them to revenue. Hey, welcome to podcast episode 24, 52 Launch Podcast. This is a rarity. Mike and I actually get to sit together and do a podcast. This isn't your first podcast, though, right?
It's my second.
All right. So, Mike, why don't you just introduce yourself again? What do you do
Sure.
here? Who are you?
Yeah, so, hey guys, my name's Mike. I'm the industrial designer at 52 Launch, and my job's designing the aesthetic, functionality, usability of our products.
All right. Mike's being very humble. Mike actually is extremely intuitive at getting the right product that you've got in your head onto a design, into production, and into the hands of the marketing team. So, when Mike says this is what it needs to do, he might be very quiet and mannered about it, which I love because that's really the way we are as a company. But Mike carries a big stick. If Mike says this is the way it needs to get done, we at 52 Launch, it's verbatim, right? I don't look at you as an employee, and I don't look at you as someone who's just providing a service to our clients. I look at you as a mentor taking our clients through a very difficult process. And part of that topic today, right, there's a segue. What are the difficulties that our customers sometimes have in understanding that process, right? So
Yeah.
I think the big one and the topic we picked today is how I think everyone expects that their idea and invention is just done vertically in a factory. And let's talk
Yeah.
about how that isn't the truth at all.
Yeah,
At least not in the beginning.
that's a great point. So, we take you through the process, even if it's not us who's designing, but hopefully it is. Once the design phase is done and we get to our DFM phase, design for manufacture, and ultimately our manufacturing phase, there are kind of a few things that are going to happen. So the first is we need to find a manufacturer, which can sometimes sound maybe a bit misleading because it's usually not a manufacturer, it's manufacturers.
So I'm going to stop you there, and so you're 100% right. It's a network of manufacturers that we already have relationships with, right? So what we're looking for
Yes.
is the right key. We're not going to knocking on doors in the manufacturing world.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, 50 Launch has been around for a little bit, but the partnerships that we have are, better part of 30 years old. So
Right.
we have long-standing relationships with really tremendous manufacturers. And so occasionally, if the project's very, very simple, it could just be one manufacturer. That's almost never the case. Usually we have to have a few of our partners, and then a few of our partners have suppliers. So it looks like it can kind of look like a couple things. When Pete's talking about vertically integrated, what he's kind of meaning is the appearance or even the aspect of going to a manufacturer, giving them the design and having them manufacture it from A to Z. And so what that means is getting the materials to manufacture it, getting the tooling. So if we're a piece of injection molding, you're having a plastic product, or maybe some metal dies if you have some metal components, PCBs if it's electronic. All of those are different materials and all come from different sources.
Right.
And-
So I'll kind of just put it more in layman's terms. When you have an idea and let's just put that there's no single factory that has all the components that your idea may entail, right? So
True.
if we're talking about that there's like soft goods element or materials that are like fabric, that is kind of one area. If that fabric then needs to be matched with technology, that's two areas. If that technology doesn't exist and we have to go out and have someone develop it, that's three areas. something as simple as a product that requires a plastic injection molded piece, but then requires 2 or 3 other things to make it your product idea, we're not looking at one factory because it would be cost ineffective, right? One factory does not have all those skills, not yet. The way you do that is you get them done at the most cost-effective ways, and we bring them into probably from some final assembly. Again, part of our flexibility, which makes us extremely unique, and this is where you and Aaron come into play, and I love when Aaron says, well, we can just, especially for the last 2 years where we've had some COVID slowdowns, we've been able to move factories. We've been able to rearrange our supply chain, and I think not being vertical gives us a lot more flexibility to help customers launch.
It absolutely does. It's kind of the idea of like, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Correct. And especially in the beginning where we're putting, look at all the eggs have to come from some basket, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd rather go out and find the best value of the egg in that component, right? So in order to get pricing, it's not about having the, quantities obviously is the big one. If we could get enough, if we could put an order in for 250,000 pieces on any new product launch, then I think we would be vertical, right? But that doesn't happen. How often, what's the minimum quantity orders that we tend to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, so another thing that kind of sets us apart is because of our long-standing relationships, we're able to pretty often get a minimum order quantity of 1,000 pieces,
right?
Which is like in the manufacturing world unheard of. 25,000 is usually a pretty generous minimum order quantity. So for us to, if you're just starting out or maybe don't have the capital to really hit the ground running and just, dip your toes in, we're able to accommodate that. It's not always the best move, but it's something we can do.
But it's the right move, right? It's always crawl, walk, run. Obviously, if you only have 1,000 units of something, your maximum potential of revenue is it's limited by that 1,000 pieces, right? You're in the product development but you also are turning your idea into a business, and the business part of this means that inventory is your friend. Good inventory is your friend, right? Mm-hmm. And this is why we have to because we've chosen to, and we put a lot of trust into Mike to make sure that, at the end, the product that we're going to produce is good inventory. So as much as I hate it, and you and Luke and our former Luke would sometimes say, no, I need one more round of sample, I'm like, oh, man, that's just delaying us to getting to market. But the long-term effects of having that one more tweak done prevents us from having bad inventory, right? So
that's true.
It is a tough balance, and that's sometimes frustrating for clients, right? Or even for us.
Absolutely.
But is it necessary?
It absolutely is.
Absolutely is.
But there's also a fine line, like if you could look at any product or even cars or anything, like a successful product, there's never just one. There's always a second generation, a third generation. You want to just keep pumping out more, and it's kind of indicative of a good product that is just getting better. If you try to take the product to the best it can possibly be before you release it, you may end up never releasing it. So.
Yeah, it's Van Halen. That's my phone ringing.
Alrighty, guys.
Yeah, we're back. Sorry about the little musical interruption from my phone. We had to cut that out because copyright. So we're back.
Alrighty.
So what we were talking about is just the vertical integration, and you were talking about the importance of getting it right.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important that when we're developing the product, we give it the time and love that it needs. So whether that's 1 or 2 rounds of samples, whether it's a few more, can really a lot of times make or break the product. What can also break the product is like 15 rounds of samples and going back and tweaking little things that sometimes feel really important to us or even our clients developing, but like in the grand scheme of things and also to the end user don't matter at all. And those are kind of the things that cost a lot prevent you from selling.
That's a really good point to have on this podcast, and it's it's probably something that Dan and I touched on. It was in our nitpick podcast, and maybe nitpick's not the right word. That's how we feel about it because we're nitpicking about little things. I understand how important that could be to a customer that they want everything perfect, but perfection does kill profitability. That is not a statement we created. That is just a reality of fact. Mm-hmm. This is where again I say that you and we are as a company, we are mentors who provide a service, not a service company that just wants to get through the process, right? So in your mentorship, who has the most authority at this point to say when that balance is being broken and when you should be listened to and when you should give in to a customer?
Yeah, I mean it's fully it's our client's decision always, but it's up to us to inform and based on our experience and knowledge of these things, and just seeing projects that could be really great end up, either never launching or taking too long, and then the capital's tied up.
Mike's too fucking nice. I'm going to say this, and do me a favor, mark this down as far as a clip that we're going to want to punch out. Mike's nicely telling you that if you're going against his opinion or our opinion, you're going down a path that we've already been there, done that. We're not telling you this to be different than you or to try and advise you wrong. We are actually advising you based on knowledge that we have that you haven't gone through yet, right? There's so many logical steps to bring your product to market, and I will tell you they are all wrong. There is a process that you have to go through. The world has taught you that you need to protect your idea before you get started. I will tell you that is the biggest mistake that you can make, because you spend more money in getting your product patented. That what happens when the product finishes with your design team? Is that the same product that was patented?
Never.
Never. Right? So now you got to go back and re-patent it, and you have to spend more money on that. The optimal way would be to say, hey, let's get it designed. Let's work under NDAs. We're a significantly sized team, but we're a small team in terms of who knows what your product is. We're all under the same NDA contract. We don't want to show this to anybody, because we want to. Part of our success is your success, and if that success means keeping a secret, we're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the biggest thing is just don't. If you have friends with a big mouth, maybe don't tell them till it's done.
Right. Yeah, we've had that situation. But look at the bottom line is, when the design is in your hand, there's things that because you've been through it, a couple 100, 300 times at this point with clients and design, plus your past. We're not telling you stuff that is wrong. We're telling you our mentored advice, because we've been there and done that. And so same thing with the product. If you're, if Mike says you're nitpicking or this is the way it should be, just stop yourself for a second and consider the fact that maybe you need to listen to the experts versus putting your own decision in, because that decision down the road is going to have an impact. And do you have a problem dying on the sword that we advise? I mean, you said it earlier. We're not God, but we're experienced, and that's the next best thing, right? And then from there we can go. But again, let's get back to the vertical versus integrated subject.
Yeah, absolutely. So
let's talk about Lavalunch as a good example, because
okay,
I don't want to actually bring up a client's name, but let's talk about a company that, again, today, June 1st, so I don't know when we're going to air this podcast, but June 1st, we have now been the owners of Lavalunch for 2 years. Learned that this morning. So owning Lavalunch. If you don't know what Lavalunch is a lunch bag or a lunch tote that keeps your food hot for 5 hours. So we have a patented technology called the Lava Rocks that go in this bag, and let's go through the supply chain that we have to deal with there.
Sure.
Right. So again, everyone thinks we're vertical, but we're not. So give us the process of where.
Cool.
What we have to do to get these bags manufactured in here.
Absolutely. So just before we start, can our kind viewers go to lavalunch.com to check this thing out?
Take a minute, put us on pause, go check out lavalunch.com.
Maybe pick up a couple for you and your family.
Absolutely.
They're pretty awesome.
This is the season to start thinking about back to school. They are awesome for back to school.
Cool. So maybe you've taken a chance to check out the product. So like Pete was saying, it's Lavalunch is a couple components. It's a lunch bag, a custom designed lunch bag, and it's also the rocks inside. And kind of the heart and soul of it are the rocks that you can heat up to keep your food warm, and that interaction with the bag itself that helps insulate. So that's how we get our, your lunch is hot for 5 hours, and it's not warm, it's hot, pretty much the way it came out of the microwave.
Correct. So so you said there's two components. Just off the bat, the bag itself, how many different materials do we use in that bag?
So the bag itself probably has 7 to 10 distinctly different materials.
Right. Foam materials, zippers, insulators.
The body fabric, the insulator,
Yep.
the webbing, the handles.
Okay.
The logo itself even is a different material.
So how many different manufacturers could we make this bag at?
So it kind of comes down to, you have to find the right bunch of manufacturers. But each one of those materials and components more or less come from a different supplier before they get to our soft goods manufacturer, who's
Right.
doing the actual cutting of the pieces and sewing them together.
Correct.
So before we even get to our manufacturer who's manufacturing the thing, there's a supply chain of at least half a dozen
Right.
other suppliers that we're getting the raw
and
materials
that's how
from.
far we go, because the supplier, buying the supplies right is how you get your cost right, right? So that's
And
how
the product right too.
That's how far we go. We're in control of where this material, the raw materials, are being purchased, so that we can bring it into our sewing factories. We have several, so I can make this bag in several different places. In fact, we've actually even quoted this bag with other suppliers in Vietnam, in Malaysia, and in other manufacturing countries. And again, the challenge is that we're not really saving a lot of money because all the material is coming from China anyway. So by the time they've got to import it and do it, we're really not further ahead. But now let's talk about the lava rock themselves, right? So we have at least we have two components and a lot of travel time, right? So someone, and again, we have to blow in the unit that holds the patented material is a blow mold injected piece. So most blow mold injection pieces are probably either in Shenzhen or Shanghai. So that's getting made in one place and then getting trucked over to the place that puts our patented formula into those rocks and then seals them. That region, apparently, there's only one region that does that, and it's as far north in China as you can imagine. So just our trucking time to get it to our bag manufacturer is almost 16 days without COVID. Right?
Yes. Yep.
So again, those are the details that we are managing for our clients' products. And when we're looking at that, the idea is that, I want to know, can we go visit the factory? Well, not really, unless we want to spend it.
Which one?
Right. So it's a combination of all these things. Again, this is where we take on the liability, where we are the manufacturers. We are manufacturing these in all our facilities and understanding where we have our connections so that we can get the finished product at the price points and the low minimum quantity orders. Right. So I've just given our trade secret away on how we do it. It's going to take anybody 20 to 25 years to just be able to do that.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on packaging yet.
Oh my God.
Packaging is never ever at the same manufacturing plant.
Yep.
So that's always going to be another step in the process too. Someone else is going to make your package, whether it be bag, box, mailer, and then that will get sent to your final manufacturer to do final assembly, put everything together.
And that's
pack
where
in
we're
cartons
we're
before.
flexible. Right, the final manufacturer could actually be the assembly part of one of the packaging partners that we have, or it could be, hey, send that packaging to where the bags are being fulfilled, because they've got a pretty good fulfillment line. It's also where we own lanes, right, where we have just commitments to say, hey, we can do this in these areas. So the final manufacturer is always 52 launch, because we are the guys and gals, and the teams over there are putting this together the way we need to, the way Mike needs to, the way Aaron's working on it, and we manage that all for our clients. If we tried to do this all in one facility, what would it look like, and what would our costs look like, and where's the failure points?
Yeah, so there's a lot that can go wrong. First of all, is even like finding a facility that would do this. Anything more than a few different types of manufacturing process, it's actually quite uncommon to find a facility that will do more than like one
Right.
manufacturing process, unless it's, again, the manufacturing house that does the final assembly, in which they could or couldn't be manufacturing things, but they're kind of bringing everything together. But yeah, so the first challenge would be even finding a place to be able to do this. If you could, our next problem is skill set. So each one of these types of things are drastically different skill sets, machinery, expertise. So, it's kind of like the jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
We'd rather go to suppliers who
are
are
masters.
really, really good at cut and sew. They're fantastic at making soft goods, but I'm not going to ask them to injection mold something, because that's just not what they do. They're not
Right.
set up for it. It's beneficial to find the best of the best of each one, and that also goes with price too. I mean, if
Right, I
if
was
someone's
just gonna say
really
that.
good and efficient at doing something, it tends to be a lot more cost effective. And not only that, you get a better quality end result as well.
So the point is, we have multiple facilities that we can manufacture all our products in. We have actually talked to all our factories. Obviously, we narrow it down because the ones that obviously we reward the people that do great jobs for us, right? So as much as we can. But also it comes down to, it's really supply chain, right? Trucking costs money even in China. It's not that is a hard expense. Their gas is they're dealing with the same things we are. And I speak of China because we'll get into the segue about why isn't more things made in the United States, right? Because and you just actually touched on the point, right? I think most people don't understand that manufacturers are focused and specialize in one type of manufacturing. They are not capable of doing all these things, and that actually rings more true in the United States than it does in China. In China, you do have assembly facilities. You do have a manufacturer will take on maybe 2 to 3 different parts of the component short of packaging.
Yeah.
Whereas in the United States, every time you've been making phone calls now again, I did it when we started 7 years ago. I was knocking on every door up in Leominster, plastic capital of the world. There's a product that we launched with, or one of the first early projects that if they would have taken it on, if they would have understood what we saw, we just couldn't get them. Manufacturing does not happen in the United States, not for consumer goods, right? What gets manufactured in the United States?
I mean, government contracts are fantastic for
Right.
manufacturers.
Without getting us in trouble, we don't need the CIA calling us. So yeah, government contracts, pharmaceuticals need to be made. There's just Defense Department of Defense has contracts. So the manufacturers that are manufacturing, there is manufacturing in the United States. It's high ticket items, and for people that are manufacturing things with high ticket values.
And it's not to say that there's no other manufacturing in the United States. There absolutely is
there absolutely
injection
is.
molding and
Yep.
and metal manufacturers. Even there are some cut and sew manufacturers. It's just they're usually very specialized, and they're also just very expensive.
Well, so I one of the facilities that I met, and I can't remember the name of them. It was they probably had 10 machines going at one time, and everyone's seen the TV movie with that. When someone's getting a IV drip bag, that little roller that increases the amount of fluid that goes into your IV. So I was in the factory that is, I think, the 3rd largest producer of just one component in that medical device. They're just pumping these out. It is just dropping into these vats, but it's a single item, and they were hired to just make that single item. They ship them out in pounds, not per units, and it goes somewhere else. And somewhere else is then getting parts from 20 other places like this, and then putting them together and putting the bags. There's a reason why those IV bags cost a lot of money, because there's not a single manufacturer that's putting it all together and saying, "Here you go."
Yeah. Pete, you also just brought up a fantastic point, is quantity. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. So if you're just starting out with your company, with your business, and you only have the resources to do 1,000 units, we can make that happen. And
we do make that happen
we do.
a lot.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Quite often we do. And it's a great way to start, and then you can expand, and hopefully your next order is like 25,000, which also happens often. But yeah, I mean, back to the point, so we're able to facilitate that. A lot of other companies, maybe not so much. Maybe they can. I don't know. But that's kind of our bread and butter because of our relationships overseas. We have relationships domestically, but the fact of the matter is all of them don't want to run a production order of 1,000 pieces. It's just it's not good business. It's not good business for them to shut down their machines, run a short order, and then go back to manufacturing, 100,000 pieces of what they were before. It doesn't make sense. And we love them. We love to work with them, but yeah.
So this
that's
is a good
another
segue,
aspect.
and I'm not sure we have the answer. I have my personal answer, but let's say at some point, right, in the journey of growing a business, right, taking idea from napkin to revenue. First part obviously is the design and the accelerator program that we offer our clients, but then the next step is business growth, right? So like, let's say someone orders 1,000, and let's just clarify, our average orders, I'd say Bell curve, 1,000 to 2,500, 5,000 units is that initial order. We do have clients that order 15,000 to 25,000 pieces, which actually, from a business standpoint, is the right decision.
Yes.
From a budget standpoint, most of our clients aren't in that financial position to do that, right? So, total respect. We're not expecting that. We can grow from 1,000 units to 2,500 units to 5,000 units to 50,000 units. At what point would it make sense to then invest to go vertical? Right? It is a volume question. It's not a question of when.
Yeah.
It's a question of when you are getting to, if you can consistently put in a 100,000 piece order every quarter, I would say that is 50,000 to 100,000 pieces. I'd probably start moving more of the components into a vertical location. To go vertical, that also means that the manufacturer might have to make some investments and expect a long-term contract from you, right? Because if they're going to go out and buy the plastic injection molded piece so that we're not doing it in a different location, or amortize it over the course of a million piece run, we have no problem. We have complete control over your tool, and we can bring it into that facility. But we can go vertical, but it's just not. It just doesn't work in the beginning. And anybody that tells you that it does, it's because they're just charging way too much. It doesn't work if you're trying to be cost effective to start the product at the right price point from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, your opinion, when do you think that how much work does it take to make a company go vertical? Or let's say Lavalunch. Could we make Lavalunch go vertical?
Honestly, Lavalunch is probably a bad example of something we could make go vertical. Just because the components in this product are just so drastically different. So that's one that, unless we were to open our own facility, like we would own the
Right.
building, we would have our employees there, we would have our machines, our technology, and we could make the bags on one half and the rocks on the other half.
And when we say we're not talking about 52 Launch. We're talking about Lavalunch. Lavalunch, the company,
would
have to go
own a building.
and
Yeah.
own a building in China, which means you would have to. And again, we have the partners, but we would have to partner with someone there because we can't own it, or we'd have to make a commitment to a partner there that we would be the investor. They would own the majority. So there's a lot of risk in that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the other thing is, if we're doing 100,000 units a quarter minimally, we might be able to find one of our partners that would be willing to say, look, we'll set aside a portion of our
course.
factory and we'll set up an assembly line.
That would be a good problem to have, and we would have dozens that would be doing it for us. It just
And basically, our supplier would have a little corner that permanently makes our
right.
product.
So let's put it in the first tense, right? So if this is your idea, like I just said, Lavalunch would be the one putting that investment in. We could absolutely facilitate this as 52 Launch, still be the manufacturer of record, but there would be an investment in making a machine that improves the speed in assembly, or doing things that would be vertical, or bringing the equipment under one facility where, all right, now we have some efficiencies. We're still bringing things in from different places, but there's efficiencies we can get. And the biggest one is quantity, right? Buying materials in quantity is by far your best place to be able to grow a company.
Absolutely.
Right? Because that's where your costs are. If you can have everything else managed, or take your time, I don't have to spend next day shipping. I can come get the materials in 3 weeks. We can negotiate material costs, which is what we do on a regular basis, to bring them into the facility to get there. That is, to me, more important than going vertical in the beginning.
I agree. I completely agree. And a lot of times going vertical is not the answer. A lot of times, for even huge businesses, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, we have examples through COVID, right? If we were vertical with all of our products, there'd be some products that would have never got launched, right?
That's
because
true.
we were
That's
able to
very true.
move out of facilities move to facilities that were not affected or shut down by COVID. We had flexibility to keep going. So again, this is the benefit of working with a team and network versus going with like one place. And so why are we sharing this information?
Because we're nice.
Yeah. It's also, look at, I want to be able to give our clients this education, right? Because it's hard for us to explain in detail what we just went through, or what we're going through. And I think that, really I wanted this video to be more transparent with our customers, that they understand that, when we say we're your manufacturer, we're taking the full responsibility as 52 Launch to be your manufacturer. It is made in China, but it is made in all of our facilities that we have vetted. And our efficiency is to launch companies and then grow them into bigger businesses. And, again, I think sometimes when companies launch, or when you start getting the chirps in your ear, oh, I can do this and I can do that, I can assure you that everyone sounds like they do what we do, but nobody does what we do. Nobody. And the efficiencies that we bring our customers, I made this statement the other day, and it's something I'm going to bring up as our core. Do we save our customers more than our fee in our accelerator program?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
Yes. In a second.
Please make that a clip. All right. Where does the savings come from?
I mean, where do you want me to start?
All the above.
So one huge savings is, I'm not going to say we're perfect and we don't make mistakes,
No,
but if
God,
you
no.
were to do this yourself, we've already made almost all the mistakes that you would yourself. And, mistakes sometimes cost time, and sometimes cost a lot of money, and sometimes cost both. So for us to cut that part out of the equation is
Right.
tremendous.
Just in mistakes, we save you tenfold of what we charge.
Yeah. Having a clear vision of, even if we don't know your project yet, we know how to go from idea to of retail product, something that's being sold online.
That's kind of a key point. We have figured out the formula to get through the A through Z process, right? And so whatever project comes in, because we have the network. If we didn't have the network, I understand why manufacturers have to be selective and saying that I can't do that, I can't do that. And quite frankly, when we started 7 years ago, when we were testing this, the confidence in the network was there, but we had to put that we had to prove it. So sometimes ideas would come in, and I'm like, let me evaluate that for not in today's world. In today, our clients today, I mean, if the idea is solid and we think there's a market for it,
Yeah.
there's nothing we can't manufacture, and that includes medical, electronic devices, unique devices that require mechanics as well as electronic as well as material. That's a project that we're working on right now, right? And you look at it and you go, wow, it's a simple project. It should be easy. It's not, right? And there's always components to it that you don't think of, but we will. Right, and not just that we will, our team will bring up information and say, hey, that sounds easier than it is, and it's not hard to get done, but here's what we need to consider, right? And that's where it makes the product better.
Yeah.
Well, and I can't remember the point I was making, but yeah, look at how much do you think we save our clients if they had gone to do tooling on their own?
Oh, even just on the cost of the tooling, I would say on average, 50% less probably.
And that was just on your side. There's still tremendous amounts of money that we are saving in developing the product design, going through the sourcing aspect and getting pricing, getting all the content creation, doing the market research, like all the things that we do as a company. I would like to say that we provide not just the extreme value in terms of what we're saving you and what our costs are. It's our efficiency, and really at the end of the day, it's our mentorship. And with that, I think that concludes this podcast.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else you want to say?
No, that's
All
about
right.
it.
So do us a favor. We spend a lot of emotional effort in bringing you this information at no cost because we want to see you guys succeed. If you guys want to do this on your own, we're just trying to guide you to make sure it gets done right. Obviously, the biggest factor is that I'd love to see, our biggest pet peeve is when I see someone's gone through this on their own and it's done wrong and they spent so much money to the point where I can't help you recover. So I'd rather let's give you the information on how to do it right so you can decide whether you want to call us or not, and that's always welcome. In the meantime, please like us, share us, follow us, make comments, help us get some feedback, and if there's a topic you want to ask a question about, please feel free to reach out here on the podcast and make a comment below. And if it's production related, Mike will be happy to do another podcast or answer in a quicker method. So again, appreciate your time, man. This is an awesome experience. We love doing these. Let's keep it going.
Sounds good.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.